I'm in the basement right now.
Right. Well, yeah, same
Some
here. Yeah,
indication.
we're both
That
in the
helps.
basement. We're
There
both
you
in
go.
crowded rooms
Yes.
full of, memorabilia and such. Um, yeah, it's funny because I've bounced back and forth between a couple of different collections. Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and GI Joe mostly.
Yeah.
I have some Star Wars stuff as well, but it's not nearly as that. I feel like I have a couple of like collector pieces and I'm happy with
Sure.
it.
Star
Whereas
Wars is a
anytime I start to
slippery
go down
slope.
the rabbit hole for
Yeah.
like any of the others, I start to get into like the Pokemon mindset. Got to have them all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I,
And
I
that
I
you
have
can't
to I
do
have
that
to
with
say
that.
enough is enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never got too into the Star Wars collecting. Like I
I
have like the full Batman the Animated Series action figures, and I just don't have any place to um display them, and so they're all back in their boxes.
are those the old Kenner ones, or are those the DC Direct
These
ones,
were the
or
DC Directs that came out,
yeah,
which they've
oh
been like slowly re-releasing, I think in like lower quality through McFarlane,
yeah,
um, with different paint apps. And again, in my mind, I'm like, if they bring out anything new, I should probably grab it. But I'm like, but I haven't done
right.
it. Like
I
it's
ended
sitting in a
up I
box changing.
I ended up picking up a few recently just because Jude and I had watched a few episodes and he's been really into it. And so I picked up like Batman, Killer Croc, Ra's al Ghul,
Yeah.
and Clayface. And the
The
Clayface figure is
deluxe
pretty cool.
Clayface with the
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
very cool figure.
Which
He's
is
got like the
actually, it's
mace
funny,
and
that's Hattie and Jude's favorite episode is the first
yes.
Clayface episode, which
The
is
the really
brilliant.
dark, like, actor who's fallen down on his luck and has to
Yeah.
make like a deal with the devil to hang on to his celebrity.
Yeah.
Really connects
Yeah.
with the young kids.
I mean, that show, gosh, just rewatching that show with him. And I had actually rewatched it not too terribly long ago, within the past 7 or 8 years, just on my
Yeah.
own. And I think when the Blu-ray came out.
Yeah,
And,
same.
but rewatching it with him, it's fascinating because, I watched that show when it originally aired
Mhm.
and it had a huge impact on me then. But the fact that it still carries so much weight, and now I'm in my 40s and I'm watching this show, and I can still be as entertained and provoked, and it's such a just incredible series.
Yeah. It's like, it was firing on all cylinders from the go. And
Yeah,
again, like I think in a lot of folks our age, like when they think of those characters, those are the versions that they think of. And
yeah,
of course, like for Harley Quinn, like absolutely, like that's the origin of the character.
right.
And then just like completely redefining characters, like they've got Mr. Freeze, down. Like that's the version of Mr. Freeze now.
Well, how's that for a cold open? We'll see how much of that we actually use.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Fain, the host of Fate's Wide Wheel, which is the show that you're currently watching. And I am joined this week once again by JJ Lendl. JJ, how are you? It's great to see you.
I'm well. Thank you for inviting me again onto the wheel. And I'm excited for what you'll be looking at today, and I will be a spectator, just like everyone else
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah. I know. I'm looking forward to doing this. And I think let's not waste any time because I know that we're gonna have a lot to talk about. But let's just dive right in, do the unboxing, and then we can talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. Let's awkwardly try that and see if it
Okay,
works.
get ready for a time warp, everyone.
All
Hey,
right.
look, it's a box.
Look at that. It's a box. It's a box. I'll tell you how much of an unboxing this is. I haven't even opened the box that it came in.
Well, there you
But we're
go.
gonna
It's
do
a true
that right now.
unboxing.
It's a true real unboxing. So I ordered what is in this box direct from Arrow Video. And the reason why I ended up doing that is not only did I want to support Arrow, but they did offer, as they are wont to do, a Arrow store exclusive. Oh, there it is.
It's
And
actually
it
there
had
because you didn't open this yet. It could have been filled with spiders or something.
I know, right? It could have had anything in it. So I'm not even going to turn this around yet because I wanted to just mention for a moment that they released this with two different covers, and one was some special artwork. And so I ended up going with that one, and it looks pretty awesome.
Beautiful.
Uh, Yeah, that is very, very cool. Um,
You'll have to shout out the artist for this
I
slip.
will, yes.
It's not me, by the way. That's not like a way for me to be like, this
Yeah.
is Richie.
Hold
Is it
up. Posters featuring
Roberto?
original and newly commissioned artwork by Matt Frank and Roberto Rivera Pedro.
Well, we'll have to figure out who did what. That'll be part of the mission here.
All right, now I will very carefully break
I
into
just want to
this.
shout out Arrow Video as you're
Yeah.
expertly unwrapping this, in that they are really good about commissioning new and original artwork for classic
Yes.
films. Um, I think that that's really great because it can breathe new life into a release and give it a little bit more of a modern take,
Yep.
which can be fun. And at the same time, they're also usually really good at offering an option to have some of the original key art, which is fun as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Arrow is great with that. 88 Films over in the UK is another boutique label that does that. I wish Shout Factory would do that because Shout Factory has so many wonderful titles that they put out. And they, with their Hong Kong cinema classics, with Hard Boiled and The Killer, they did that. But then with like City on Fire, Bullet in the Head, Peking Opera Blues, like those films, they did not. And I get that they are kind of distinguishing Hard Boiled and The Killer as being limited editions, along with
Right.
Better Tomorrow. But in general, they don't often do that sort of thing. Now, I will say that oftentimes they have commissioned artwork for special posters that they release with their films, or their TV sets. Like their Friday the 13th box set, I believe, also had some commissioned artwork. Their Farscape box set had a poster that was commissioned artwork. But it's strange to me that they don't make it more of a regular thing, whereas Arrow and Shout Factory do. And obviously, when it turns out like this, I mean,
It beautiful.
this is
Now,
perfect.
and I'll just say in defense of companies that may not do that as often, it could have to do with the licensing. These are
Mm,
all boutique labels who are, they're basically third parties who are licensing these films, and there may be something in the contract saying that they don't have the rights to likenesses or to create artwork for the release. But this one, it looks like that was not an issue.
yeah,
What a gorgeous set!
this is really really nice. Very the box very sturdy, much like the ones that I've talked about recently on the channel with Hard Boiled and The Killer. Um, Although it's a more of a matte, obviously, than the gloss of those two.
It's a
Also
nice
spot
sturdy
varnishing
box.
here on the Teenage Mutant
Yes.
Ninja Turtles trilogy,
Let
which
us
is
see you
nice.
touch it. We want to live vicariously through you
Yeah,
because we
right.
don't have this set.
Um, it is, the nice thing is that this is one I think that they were prepared for how popular it was going to be because as far as I'm aware, it is still available, which is nice because a lot of this stuff, it's one and done, especially when it comes to the limited edition stuff or the exclusive, store stuff. But they've done a good job of keeping this in stock, which is great.
That's good,
Um,
especially for videos like this that make you want to buy this thing when
I
you've
know,
seen
right?
how
And look
great
at
it
that!
turned
Look
out.
at that artwork.
Beautiful.
That looks so good. I do wonder, did they do a reversible? Whoa! Oh, we got some goodies in here.
What do we got
We'll
here?
take a look at those in a second. I do want to see if they did a reversible slip. Oh, JJ.
What do you
Oh,
got?
they did. They did.
It's
And
the
look at that.
original one sheet, which was hanging
Yeah.
in my room when I was 6 years old.
I love it when they do this sort of thing. Again, and like you said, this could come down to a number of factors, but it's one of those things that, 88 Films and Arrow they're really, really good at doing that. Whereas, another label like Shout Factory, or certainly like Criterion, which, again, those are both labels that I love and own plenty of movies from. They don't do things like that. And so it's really nice to be able to have that. Again, the artwork is on the disc as well, which is great. Um,
Beautiful.
and we got our little Arrow postcard with Red Sonja.
Oh, right.
They usually it's really cool. One of the things that Arrow does with those postcards is they'll preview upcoming titles often. So I think the newer batch of films, there's Excalibur postcards, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
We got
very
some
much
nice
looking forward to
stickers.
that. Yeah. Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
great.
we got Raphael, we got Donatello, we got Leonardo, we got Mikey, and then
I
we've got
feel
some
like that's
cards.
so much in keeping with it, especially those cards. Anyone
Yeah.
who is of a certain age that remember when this movie came out, we were inundated with
Oh,
merchandise.
right?
Yes,
So much
including trading
merchandise.
cards that looked very much like that.
Right?
And if you collected those trading cards, they would some of the cards you would have to put together to create a larger picture, and then there were some cards that after you saw the film, it was like, I don't remember seeing this scene in
Mm-hmm.
the movie. There would be like deleted scenes on the cards.
Yeah. Yeah. The novelization, I remember the junior novelization was like that too. There were like photos in there that it's like, wait, that wasn't in the movie. And I
So
remember as a
confusing
kid
for
always being a little
children.
confused by that.
Yes, who don't understand how films are made.
Right.
Whoa, look at that.
I know. Looks so good. Of
And
course,
it's
this is
got
for
those
Secret of the
very
Ooze.
specific Secret of the Ooze looks for the
Yeah.
turtles.
Which were, much more kid friendly, happy,
Yes,
smiley,
right.
not as dangerous. Oh, look at that. We got Roy's
Roy's
Pizza. Fast
making me
delivery.
hungry. That pizza looks so good in the opening credits
It really
of Teenage
does.
Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Look at this, JJ. If we buy 7 pizzas, we get the 8th free.
All right, you just bought one with that box set. If I buy the box set, that'll be two.
Exactly. We got Splinter and the Shredder here now. Very cool.
Nice.
Um, Splinter origin story. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer rat to humanoid, human to rat?
I I think that there's something, tragic about the human to rat story.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, I think there's also something that is really sweet about the story, that's the origin in these movies.
Yes.
Um, and of course tragic. But the I like to think of it from Shredder's perspective, where instead of like, oh, it's my old enemy come back in this new form, it's like I gotta fight my enemy's pet rat.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Ooh.
Oh,
Now
very
that
cool.
is really nice. I mean, the other two are great, but this is exactly, I think, what you were talking about. A piece of artwork that can absolutely just revitalize,
Yeah.
the art direction for a film's marketing. Because I would argue that the third film was not necessarily marketed all that great. It was not, the you look at some of the posters and some of the stuff that came out, it was fine. But I mean, you see something like this, and it
Yes.
tells a completely different story. Um,
Absolutely. I wonder
yeah,
if that's by the second artist on the box because it looks like it's in a very different
it does
style than
look
the
like,
first
yeah.
two.
So this might be Roberto Rivera. Yes, it is because there's his initials right there, RRP. So this is
There
Roberto
we go.
Rivera Padro. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And the other two are Matt Frank. But yeah, just wonderful stuff. And then look at what they've done with April's card.
You can
That's
have it both
great.
ways.
Yeah, you can have it both ways.
Well, you know what
Paige
I gotta
Turco
ask you
and
now.
Judith Hogue.
Do you
Did
have
you
a
have a
favorite
preference?
April? I'm asking you. You gotta
Oh,
answer first.
oh, 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 it's so hard. It's Judith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I
I
thought
I
I
I,
thought Paige
I
did great.
evolved on this though, to be
Yeah,
frank.
same here. Same
Okay.
here. I think for a while I was definitely in the Paige Turco camp, and then at one point I was just like, it's Judith Hogue all the way.
Yeah, I feel like because I don't know, I think as I was as I was younger, like in the second and third films, there's more of a maternal aspect to April.
Hmm.
And as I got older and I could appreciate more the Judith Hogue take,
Yeah.
and it's also like she's really mad, and that I find that kind of attractive for some reason as you get
Yeah.
on.
Right, right.
Tell you a
I
little
got to
about
be
myself.
honest. I don't often do this. A lot of these posters, quite frankly, just sit in their tube or sit in their DVD case. But I might have to put this in a frame.
It's awesome.
I
It's so
really
good.
like this. Yeah.
Yes,
And then, of
that's right up
course,
my
we get
alley.
the one sheet on the back, which, again, it's fine. But
Yeah,
compared to that art, yeah,
right.
it's
Yeah,
nothing.
I feel like the one sheet's going for like a Seven Samurai kind of feel, but
Yeah.
it is this weird sort of minimalist take that doesn't necessarily lend itself to the subject matter.
No.
Um, but that's what we
And
grew up
there's a
with.
film, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later. There's a film that I do think could use a healthy reevaluation. It's obviously
Seven
not
Samurai.
perfect.
I know
Uh,
people. I mean, people are sleeping on that movie. Sam,
they
you got to
really
tell them.
are. I don't know. The last 70 years, it's just I don't understand why they haven't gotten it yet.
See, my issue is I never saw the first six of them, and so I was completely lost. I was like, "Why am I starting with the seventh one?" Okay, people say it's good.
uh, okay, I have to. So first of all, not only do we get this nice, replica of the one sheet here, but you also have to just appreciate the fact that over here it says featuring music by MC Hammer, Johnny Kemp, High Tech 3, and Orchestra on the half shell.
Ooh, what a time to be alive. I
Right?
had this audio cassette, the soundtrack for the first film.
So I did not have that, but I did have the Coming Out of Their Shells tour cassette tape. So
That's a good one.
now
We
this
had
is
that.
really nice.
Oh, let me see. Oh yeah.
This is like a replica of the page from like the book in
Yes.
3, right? Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool too.
Again,
And
like
then
to
we're not
go to the
done yet.
trouble to do that, to source that. Speaking of,
Right? We have a Ray's menu here, which is very nice. Look at these 90s prices. A
I was just
slice
thinking that.
of cheese
Yeah.
pizza for $1.25.
You
You can
can't
get
get
a
a
whole
pepperoni
pie
for a buck
for
50.
$9. I mean,
Amazing.
those were the days. But yeah, we get this beautiful Roy's Greenwich Village mock-up here, and then inside, of course, we have just a fantastic booklet with all the cast and crews for all the films. Then we get some great essays here. Turtle Recall by John Walsh, A Faithful Comic Book Adaptation by John Torani, Sensei/Censor by Simon Ward, which I would imagine talks a little bit about kind of the censorship that took place and the reason why the second and third film were not nearly as maybe hard hitting might be the right word as the first film
Interesting.
was. So that'd be really interesting. And then we get some.
I think I know Simon actually. I think he used to work for Titan Books. If that's the same Simon Ward
Oh,
I'm thinking
really? Oh,
of.
very
Yeah.
cool. I love that
Fun.
Sam Rockwell gets credited here in the cast as the head thug. Um,
I think that was a late edition. I'm not sure if that would have been
right.
printed that way
The cast,
previously.
they've done a really nice thing here where they've listed both the suit actor and the voice actor for each of the turtles, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Little Kevin
pictures of the
Clash.
original posters
Yeah.
there, which is really great. And then we get some. Yeah, see, this is definitely when I was younger. This is definitely what kind of sold me on Page Turco, but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep.
um,
I hear you.
yeah, and once again, Arrow always does a wonderful job with these. We've got some incredible behind the
Is that Jim
scenes photos
Henson?
here. Jim Henson, yeah, which is really cool. Um, this was one of the last projects that he worked on, right?
Yeah, he passed away not long after this was released, if I
Yeah, I
recall.
don't. Did he even get to see it released? I don't. I honestly can't recall now. Um, oh, there they are, Eastman and Laird, the
Awesome.
creators.
Look how young.
I know, right?
Yeah. At least Easton. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beerlers always look like that. Um,
yeah. This is just.
yeah,
I
this
mean,
is great.
I just
What's the
love all of
quality of the
this.
paper there? It's hard
It's
hard
very,
for me
very
to tell.
nice. I mean, this is all very thick. Yeah. I mean, this is really, really nice. This is not something that if it's not picking up like any. I mean, my hands are super dry because it's like 10 degrees outside. But that said, it's not picking
Right.
up any oils from my hands. It feels really nice. It's got that new paper smell. Um, but
Yes, tell
yeah,
us how it smells.
I
We want to
cannot
be in the
wait.
room with you, Sam.
Right. I cannot wait to dive into this. Yeah, the censorship essay lists some sources here, and they're all like censor the story of film censorship in Britain, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Nunchuck censorship, Ninja Turtles yeah, so it's all about the way that the film was censored in Britain, Great Britain in particular, because Arrow video, of course, is based in the UK.
Right.
They
Right.
do release stuff in the US. They do US exclusives, but a lot of their stuff is UK first or UK
Yes.
exclusive. They do some stuff that's released in both regions at the same time, but a lot of the stuff is a lot of the stuff is
Which can be frustrating when you're on their Instagram and you're looking at the chart. Okay, new releases. All right, what flags are underneath the titles?
yep,
Is this
yep,
going to be coming out in the US? It's not.
yeah.
Okay. I have
And
to
they've done
import it.
and they have done some releases that have been, again, we were talking earlier about limited stuff. Their Dollars trilogy, the Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood collaboration, Few Dollars
Yeah.
More, Fistful of Dollars, and Good, the Bad, the Ugly. They released limited edition 4Ks of those earlier this year, and those sold out. I mean, on pre-order alone.
Yeah.
They and it's kind of crazy to me because those films, I bought them for $40 each, and now I think I've seen all three of them bundled together on eBay for like over $300.
It's
Um,
incredible, and it just shows you
yeah,
how much of a market there is for these kind of releases.
yeah,
Um, I want to shout out those dollars sets because they've got gorgeous artwork by an Italian painter named Tony Stella, who does a lot of
yes.
work in that realm.
Tony does some great work for them too. Yeah, he's done some of their martial arts films as well. I think we were talking about him with that Bruce Lee box set, for instance.
Yes, yeah, that's him
Yeah,
as well. Yeah.
I just want to take a moment just to read this real quick. This is something that I'll talk more about in a later video after I've had a chance to watch these, but I do feel like stuff like this is important even at the unboxing level. About the presentations, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1 with stereo and a new Dolby Atmos mix. The film is presented in 4K resolution in HDR10 and Dolby Vision. The original 35 millimeter camera negative was scanned in 4K 16-bit at Photocom. A 35 millimeter interpositive was also scanned for Reel 3, which was missing from the negative. Interesting. A 35 millimeter UK theatrical release print was sourced from the BFI for the content unique to the UK release. So we're going to have some goodies in the special features, I'm assuming, with that, which will be cool.
Nice.
The film was restored and color graded in 4K at R3 Store Studios in London. The original stereo mix was remastered by Porstein Gieselan, which I've actually heard of them before. Just recently, there was something, I can't remember what it was now, some work that they had done that people were just raving about. The Dolby Atmos mix was produced at Deluxe Audio Services in London. All materials sourced for this new master were made available by Fortune Star, Warner Brothers, the Academy Film Archive, and the British Film Institute. The restoration was supervised by James Piercy and James White, Arrow Films, and has been approved by filmmaker Steve Barron, which I think is always, incredibly important because we have seen some films. I'm thinking of Le Cercle Rouge, which is a Jean-Pierre Melville film from France. That when Criterion released the 4K of that, it had a new color grading on it, and there was a lot of controversy around that because, of course, Melville's not around anymore. He couldn't, give his 2 cents, and it was very different from the color grading that the film initially had, and so there was definitely some controversy over to whether or not it was in keeping with the filmmaker's original wishes. So anytime the filmmaker can be involved, I think it's crucial to try to involve them. So I'm glad to know that that was the case here. Um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 are both presented in their original aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1 with stereo and 5.1 audio. For both films, a 35 millimeter interpositive was scanned in 4K 16-bit at Warner Brothers /MPI. The films were restored and color graded in 4K at R3 Store Studios in London. The stereo mix for Turtles 2 was remastered by Matt Jarman at Bad Princess Productions. The stereo mix for Turtles 3 and the 5.1 mixes for both films were remastered by Porstein Gislason. All materials sourced for these new masters were made available by Fortune Star and Warner Brothers. And then we get the credits here for everyone that worked on this, as well as a special shout out to the filmmakers as well. Yeah, this just looks incredible. I cannot wait to dive into this. And then let's just scoot over here to the back of our slipcover. All right, bear with me, JJ. Let's see what we got here.
Okay, I'm
Three
ready.
disc 4K Ultra HD limited edition contents include brand new 4K restorations of all three films. We have Dolby Vision and HDR10 compatible of all three films. The Perfect Bound collector's booklet in the style of a Roy Pizza menu, featuring new writing on the films by Simon Ward, John Turani, and John Walsh. Reversible sleeves featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Matt Frank and Roberto Rivera Pedro. Double-sided fold-out poster featuring original artwork from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the map of the Kappa realm. A stylized recreation of the ancient scroll text appears in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. So it's a recreation, not the actual original piece, but obviously looks amazing. Two additional double-sided fold-out posters featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Matt Frank and Roberto Rivera Pedro. 8 character trading cards, the Roy's Pizza loyalty card, and 4 character stickers. Now, here we go. We get special features for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Disc 1. Brand new commentary with director Steve Barron. Brand new commentary with comic book expert and podcast host Dave Baxter. Rising When We Fall, a newly filmed interview with director Steve Barron. Turtle Talk, a newly filmed interview with actors Robbie Rist, Brian Tochi, and Ernie Reyes Jr., and Ken Scott. O'Neill on the Beat, a newly filmed interview with actor Judith Hogue. Wet Behind the Shells, a newly filmed interview with producer Simon Fields. Beneath the Shell, a newly filmed interview with puppet coordinator and second unit director Brian Henson and Rob Teigner, puppeteer for both Splinter and Leonardo. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turf, a newly filmed featurette exploring the film's locations in New York City and North Carolina. The alternate UK version with unique footage prepared for censorship reasons, presented in 4K via seamless branching. That that's awesome.
Nice. You don't see
Alternate
that often
ending.
anymore. Yeah.
No, right? Alternate ending from the VHS work print, alternate Korean footage, the theatrical trailers, and image gallery. Whew, amazing.
You're gonna have some fun going
Unbelievable.
through that stuff.
Yeah, right. Secret of the Ooze. We get a brand new commentary with director Michael Pressman, moderated by filmmaker Jillian Wallace Horvat. We get John Duperez to the rescue, a newly filmed interview with composer of the trilogy, John Dupre, probably, excuse me. Hardcores, a newly filmed interview with Kenny Wilson, mold shop supervisor at Jim Henson's Creature Shop. The Secret of the Edit, a newly filmed interview with editor Steve Merkovich. Behind the Shells, an archive featurette from 1991, theatrical trailer, and image gallery. And then on disc 3, we get a brand new audio commentary with director Stuart Gillard, Daimyos and Demons, a newly filmed interview with actor Sab Shimono, Rebel Rebel, a newly filmed interview with actor Vivian Wu, very cool, the alternate UK opening, theatrical trailer, and image gallery.
Whew.
I'm just, I mean, blown away by the amount of special features that we get.
Yeah.
That
And
is,
and the amount of puns that they were able to work into
and the
those
amount of puns
descriptions.
that they were able to put into that. Yeah. The funny thing is in a way, JJ, I didn't spoil myself on this. I didn't actually read any reviews yet. I haven't watched any unboxing videos. I barely read the info on the Arrow website when I ordered it. I pretty much just saw it and I pressed buy and didn't even, so these special
So
features
okay, yeah.
were kind of a surprise to me. You know, I
So this
expected
is as
some of the
much of a
stuff.
blind buy as you can do, having
Yeah,
seen all the films 50 times.
right, exactly. I mean, it's so okay. I don't know where to begin because there's so much that I want to say, but I also don't want to go on for hours and hours. But I will
That's
just
fine.
start off with this. My grandmother took me to see the movie in the theaters the first time that I saw it. I was staying at their house, uh, summer 1990, and she took me to see it. And I remember that she was a little on the fence about taking me to see it, as grandma was wont to be. And, Raph's dam early on was definitely,
The dam heard
was
round the world. Yeah.
almost a bridge too far for grandma, but she was cool. She stuck with it. And I think that, she could tell just how transportative it was for me
Yeah.
as a boy. I was 9 years old, and I feel like in a lot of ways I was at that perfect age for this film, for this franchise. And yeah, I remember walking into the mall to get to the theater. um this was in Waterloo, Iowa. And yeah, I have very vivid memories of walking in there, sitting down, and getting to the theater, and the opening of the film in particular. Because I just don't think there'd ever really been anything quite like it. Obviously we're a year on, not even a year on from Batman, which had obviously redefined things in a way. But in a lot of ways, Turtles kind of stood on its own. I mean, I think that there was an aura at that particular time that you got the sense that those films were, they shared some similarities as far as going for something that was a little bit darker, a little bit grungier, not too clean, not too slick. But at the same time, it was a very different kind of film. Um, what are your memories of first seeing the first Turtles film?
It's the first film I remember seeing in a movie theater.
Mm,
And I was 5 when it came out that summer. And it's also the first film that I remember coming home afterwards and getting some paper and markers together and drawing from memory scenes from the film, which
wow.
became sort of a custom for me years after when I would go see a movie. But that was
Yeah.
the very first time I did. I remember drawing a picture of the baby turtles in the ooze in the sewers with the
Yes.
broken canister.
Yep.
Um, so and before the film came out, because it's talk about turtle mania. So there was the animated TV series,
Yeah.
then there was the Playmates toy line, and then there was this live action film, and that was all within the span of about, like, 2 years,
Yeah.
2 to
2,
3
2.5
years.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
And, for me, I would watch the cartoon, uh, you know, constantly because I think it was on all the time at that point.
Yeah.
And,
And it was
so
honestly for a while there, they were pretty much just showing the same, like, 8
the same
episodes over and
five,
over again.
10
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah, exactly. Because they hadn't made that much. I think they
Right,
made
right.
5 to start with, and then they made, like, 13 more, and then they really started pushing out a ton of episodes of that. But
Yeah.
it really was kind of a catch up. This was such a phenomenon, and they were just trying to make as much for it as they could, and obviously merchandise was a big part of that. And the cartoon was one of those series that launched in order to sell toys, in a way. Um,
Yep.
and I was too young to have the original comics because
Sure, right.
they were you know pretty mature, and it wasn't until Archie did their version of the Ninja Turtle comics based mostly on the animated series to start with, but then branching off into its own continuity that I started getting into those. And that was one of the first comics other than, like Superman,
Sure.
that I really got into. So seeing it in live action and seeing it done in a way where it like talk about verisimilitude. I mean, they just looked like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean,
Yeah.
the production quality. But the other thing I remember, and you know, the even watching it again today, it's just like that film goes really hard. Like
Yeah.
it's moody and it's dark and it's tragic, and especially for a young kid seeing that, it was a very different tone than the cartoon.
Yes.
Um, but it was also very effective because it felt like the stakes were so high. Um, and the film does the film does the thing that media for young people should do, is that it introduces a young character that you can see yourself in, with the Danny character.
Yeah.
And obviously Danny was a little older than we were when the
Right.
film came out,
Right.
but it helps you to sort of put yourself into their shoes.
Yeah.
But I,
Well,
I,
one of the
yeah,
things well, just to hop on that real quick, one of the things that I really appreciate about the character of Danny, especially, 35 years on, is that he's not a wish fulfillment character. And I feel like it would have been very, very easy to place a young character in this film, a young human character in this film, and have it be like a wish fulfillment character. It's like,
yeah.
oh, he's like the honorary fifth turtle sort of thing. And
Which they did
instead,
in the cartoon.
right,
They had a
right,
kid
right.
that was around who was like,
And
"You're so great."
and they kind of ended up doing that, with the Ernie Reyes Jr. character in
Yes.
Secret of the Ooze. But I really do appreciate the fact that this is someone that has, his own unique storyline, that there is some real conflict there, with himself, with his father, with the Foot Clan, with, just figuring out his own place in all of this. And that ultimately, all of those relationships, especially the relationship with the father, are paid off in some really rewarding ways. And I love the fact that you brought up the tone, because I think that's what I was searching for earlier. Tonally, the film is so very different from any other kind of like superhero type thing, comic book adaptation that we'd really ever
Yeah,
had before, with the possible exception, of course, of the Tim Burton Batman film. Um,
sure.
and
But
I think that the
even that, Sam, like, I feel like the Tim Burton Batman film has, it's got a lot of sort of gothic, uh, aesthetic to it. But there's plenty of goofy stuff in that movie too.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually, what I was getting ready to say too is to that point is that I feel like the first 15 minutes or so of Batman have a lot in common with this film tonally, but then after that, yeah, it you're right, it
yeah,
goes
yeah,
into kind of that some elements of camp, some elements of there's definitely a little bit more of that vibe to it, the Tim Burton vibe, the kind of almost a tip of the hat to the '60s Batman, just kind of encapsulating Batman, and comic book chicanery as a whole. Whereas
right.
Ninja Turtles, I think never it never strays too far from that. And even in the more lighthearted moments, the moments of comedy, it's funny, especially when they go to oh, I can't remember the name of it, because in the comic books it has like a proper name. But when they go to the farmhouse and everything,
Uh-huh.
um, they're there are moments of humor and levity even at the farmhouse, but you never forget like the gravity of the situation in which they find themselves. And
Right.
so it's that idea that humor can kind of be used as a shield, as a coping mechanism. It's yeah, I mean the film is incredibly deep actually, and it goes so far beyond just being like four dudes in turtle suits fighting, you know, ninjas. And
Right. Right.
and to the truth of the matter is it didn't have to. I think that that's one of the things that, especially the next two films, kind
I
of
was gonna
prove in a
say, well,
way,
look at the other two films in the set as an
right?
example of that, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
and
and
that's
of
not to
course,
say,
I just wanted to mention how
yeah,
much of an adaptation the first film is of
mm,
the original Mirage comics, which I don't know if
yes,
a lot of people are aware of that. Like it,
right,
how much of the early storyline it just adapts to film. If you
right.
look at if you look at those comics, um,
Which is hilarious because yeah, the very first issue, right? Spoiler alert for a 40-year-old comic book, they kill
right,
Shredder at the
yeah,
end, right?
yeah.
Like,
Imagine like Batman kills Joker at the end of the first Batman #1, or
yeah. And it's funny because both Eastman and Laird, like afterward, were sort of like, well, we kind of killed the main villain and we didn't necessarily know what we were going to do after that. So we figured we would just do whatever the heck we wanted. And so the next thing
yeah,
you know, it's like they're fighting, you know, electronic, technologically advanced, you know, mice in the sewers. They're going off to alien
yes,
planets and
space
fighting space
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs.
And
Yeah.
then
It's
you
like
know what?
that.
Let's bring Shredder back as like a crab clone.
Right.
Are we cool with that? Let's do
Yeah.
that.
And then, you know, and then eventually it's like, oh, well, you know, Shredder's daughter. And the funny thing is tonally, even the comic book like has some seismic shifts and eventually it becomes incredibly dark and gritty. It goes from
Sure.
being, you know, it goes from kind of being like, let's do whatever we want and tell whatever kind of stories we want. And very successfully, I might add, to then being a very kind of grounded, gritty, like the whole City at War storyline, which
Yeah.
is just epic. I mean, that thing is like, you know, 2 years worth of books basically. um and tells a very sort of like street level kind of story for the turtles after they've done all of this fantastic stuff as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the film is an incredibly faithful adaptation of that first issue in
Yeah.
particular. Um and I think that it's a testament to the, you know, to just the filmmaking overall, what they were able to achieve. And the other thing that I love about the movie is that it's a collaboration between Golden Harvest, which is a very famous, you know, Hong Kong film studio that produced like the Bruce Lee movies, for instance, and New Line. And so it's like this collaboration between, you know, East and West filmmaking, and I don't know, it's a very unique kind of film,
Yeah.
and for a very unique property.
Right.
And I
Just
think kind of changed the way that people saw these types of movies.
yeah. It there was a huge shift. Like again mentioning Batman, which it's so funny because the films came out like within a year of each other.
Yeah.
They're comic book adaptations. They're ostensibly for kids, but they also have this dark tone. Both of the villains are thrown off a building at the end of each
Right.
to their deaths.
Yeah.
But there was this big shift at the end of the 80s into the 90s when it came to blockbuster films and action films, much to the chagrin of some, where it's kind of the Michael Keaton of it all. It's like, oh well, we used to, the stars of these movies like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, these really strong, kind of like tough guys. And now you got the guy from Mr. Mom. He's in a rubber suit. And now you got these turtle suits, and sort of like ushering in um, a new kind of fantastical element to these blockbusters that would continue into the 90s and then obviously today. I mean,
Well,
like,
isn't it funny? You bring up a really good point, and this is exactly the type of stuff that I love to talk about on the show, and especially going forward with covering, you know, more than a niche sci-fi show. I hope to get the chance to have these types of conversations more often. But you know, the '70s were in film, and especially with heroes in film, were generally very much about like the outsider, the people on
yeah,
the fringe, you know. And you even look, you mentioned Stallone, for instance. You look at Rocky, you look at the first Rambo movie, you know, these are outsiders, underdogs. These are, you know, and then the '80s, all of a sudden, you know, our heroes had to be the alpha, right? You know, you had to have, you know,
Look at
Schwarzenegger
both of those franchises. Look at
Stallone,
the
yeah,
Rocky
exactly. The
franchise and the
route that
Rambo
those the route
franchise.
that
Yeah,
those films took, absolutely.
right.
You know, you look at the Rambo films, and you look at you know, the Rocky films. You look at you know, the myriad of Schwarzenegger films, etc. And all of a sudden, yeah, it was about the, you know, the alpha, the hero. And the funny thing is that here at the end of the 80s, you know, with Batman, and the beginning of the 90s with Ninja Turtles, all of a sudden we're back to telling stories about kind of these outsiders, these other characters, these people on the fringe. And what better way to illustrate that than with four teenagers who are, you know, mutated turtles, about as different as you could possibly get. And yet at the same time, and this is one of the things that the latest Ninja Turtles film did so brilliantly, is that these are kids just looking for a connection, right? They're
Yeah,
looking for a
emphasizing
connection.
the teenage in the
Yeah,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah,
to be a part of a bigger world, right? And I think that, like, the latest film obviously does some things very differently compared to this film, but one of the things that I do think that they both really get is that sense of kind of otherness, which is pretty cool. And Yeah, it is a remarkable film, and I can't wait to see it in all its glory, and, you know, 4K and Dolby Vision, and, you know, dig into these special features, hear some of these audio commentaries. Obviously, there have been documentaries made about the turtles. There's been, you know, stuff written. There's, you know, there's stuff out there. I don't know how much new information, you know, might actually be included in this necessarily, but I'm certainly looking forward to kind of digging through some of that stuff. Um, you know, I think that the first film, it's pretty easy to say that the first film is probably the superior of the three. But that's not to say that there's not a lot to love about the others. Secret of the Ooze, I feel like it it came at the absolute zenith of the franchise. By the time that
yeah.
that movie came out, Ninja Turtles were literally everywhere. They were on Oprah. They were selling out, you know, concert tours, you know, throughout the country. The toys were taking up, you know, half the aisle at Toys R Us. I mean, it was insane. The turtles were just everywhere. You had turtle pies, you had turtle ice cream. God, I love turtle pies. You had, you know, you had everything you could possibly, you know, there was turtles at Pizza Hut. There was, you know, anything and everything turtles. And when that film came out, you know, you have Vanilla Ice in the movie, you know, Siggy the song. You have there's so much co-promotion going on. Um, Obviously, you were a little bit older when that came out. What are your memories of first kind of seeing Secret of the Ooze, and what were your thoughts on the film, and maybe what are your thoughts now?
It's funny because as a kid, being young, I didn't really see the change in tone between
Sure.
the films.
Yep.
I just saw it as a continuation. I
Yep.
saw the things that I wanted to see. And let us not forget, like, you would see a movie in the theater, and then, you know, if you know, at that time, like, if you were well enough off, you might buy the VHS tape and be able to rewatch it a year and a half down the line. But generally, like, you saw a movie in the theater and you had those memories and
Yeah.
you held on to those, and you had, you know, whatever other kind of stuff. Like, you had a magazine that had images from it. You had the trading cards. And you know, I don't know how many times I saw the first film before I saw the second film. It might have been once or twice. And
Yeah, I
so
think I
I
think I'd seen it 2 or 3 times, but yeah, yeah, like you say, I didn't see, I don't think I rented it on VHS. We didn't own the VHS, I know that. So I think I just
yeah,
saw it 2 or 3 times in theaters, and that was it.
yeah. And you know, this is something I've had to explain to my 5-year-old daughter, which is like, you know, you weren't always able to access anything at any time you wanted to.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, you know, this stuff that we do, applications on TVs and streaming, and you know, if we wanted to watch, you know, Work It Out Wombats, if it was around back then, we couldn't just, you know, call it up like a genie out of a lamp like we can right now.
Right, right.
You know, it had to be available. And so you know, I remember loving Secret of the Ooze. And I remember loving it for, I think, a lot of the reasons why they probably made the shift in the series, because they wanted to introduce some more fun, fantastical elements into it. They, you know, they wanted to sell some more toys. They wanted to introduce a fun new companion for the turtles, and I ate all that stuff up. I remember the first time seeing it, just I thought that the scene where they, I think they're in a mall or something. They're in the store and they're fighting, and like they're doing the tricks with the yo-yos, and Michelangelo has, he's got the meats that he's nunchucking around, and I just remember loving all that stuff. And
Yeah.
and also loving the broader, like, Toka and Razar of it all. Like,
Yeah.
and it was, for a kid, it was funny. There was always a comic turn happening. I could see if you were a fan of the comic and then a fan of the first film, sitting down to see the second one and being incredibly frustrated with
Sure.
the shift in tone.
It was interesting for me because I remember going to the theater to see it, and I saw it probably twice as well. And I remember seeing it with a friend of mine, and his dad was taking us, and we went out to Pizza Hut beforehand. We, did the whole thing, right? And I can just remember as a kid being thrilled with it, just enjoying it so much because it was fun. There was a sense of kind of almost frivolity to it at times. The stakes were not as constantly high as they were in the first one. They got very high, certainly by the end.
Yeah,
But even then, there was an element of it never felt like they were in real danger until the final showdown with Super Shredder. And even then, you know, Super Shredder basically defeats himself, right? Like
yeah,
there's not even really
yes,
a fight necessarily.
right,
But that said, there was a sense of fun to the film that I think as a kid was just incredibly intoxicating. And
yeah,
and and I yeah I that was the film too that I wanted Toka and Razor. Like I wanted those action figures.
yeah,
I want, you know what I mean? Like that film sold me on this idea of there being a world kind of outside of the cartoon, outside of even what I'd seen in the toy line, because here was something kind of original and new, whereas the first film, it had its own spin, certainly, but it was kind of familiar, right? Most of it was familiar. And then the
sure,
second film, some of that stuff was not familiar, right? It wasn't Bebop and Rocksteady. Now
right,
there's a bunch of reasons why it wasn't Bebop and Rocksteady, that had initially been part of the discussion, that it was going to be Bebop and Rocksteady, but for whatever reason, they just felt like that this was, easier to pull off or whatever. Um, but rewatching the film not long ago, I was struck about how it's not edited very well. um, like, technically speaking, there's a lot about that film that feels very kind of like slapdash. It's kinda like, "Okay, we filmed this scene, we filmed this scene, we filmed this scene. Okay, you stick it here, you stick that there, you do this there, and then we just get it out," which could have very well been what was behind it. And going back to what I was saying earlier, yeah, it didn't necessarily have the same weight. It didn't
yeah.
have the same gravity that the first film had. Now, there were some really, really wonderful things. The addition of David Warner as the scientist, of course.
Gotta love David Warner. Yep,
Yeah, he's brilliant, and the fact that he's also in the third film, it's great to see that continuity.
right.
You know, but but yeah, there's some really wonderful like little character beats for the turtles themselves. There's some. I think when I rewatched the film, one of the things that definitely stood out to me is the film that I remembered in my mind as a kid was far superior to what I was watching as an adult.
Isn't that always the
And
case? Right.
right, I felt a little betrayed almost, like, "No." Because, like, I remember when they infiltrated, like, the junkyard and they had the big fight scene, like, in my head, that thing was like, "Oh, it's a fight," right? And then watching it, I'm just sorta like, "Wow, they really didn't do much." Like, there
Yeah,
wasn't it's like so I can't wait to watch it again, and honestly, I can't wait to show it to the kids. I don't Jude's
right.
4, so I might hold off a little bit before I show him these movies. But that said, like, watching it with them, I think will be a very different experience.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that they're gonna see it, and whenever I would wanna show it to Rosie, they'll see it probably in a similar way that we saw it,
Right?
because they're not concerned with, continuity of shots and editing
Right.
and pace and things like that. They're just taking in what the images that they're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
Um
Well, and they're letting their imaginations do a lot of work, and I feel like, unfortunately,
Yeah,
we we don't do that as often as we could or should, and I
because we're
consider
so
myself to
broken
be
down. Yeah.
right. I consider myself to be fairly imaginative and creative, right? Like, I mean, I work in theater. I do like I have an actor on stage, and there's a lot that goes into that creative process. But yeah, sometimes when watching a film, especially watching a film that I loved when I was a kid, yeah, it's just there is something about that change, that we all go
Yeah.
through. No, not that
We know
change.
too much. We
But
know
we
too
yeah, we know
much.
too much. Exactly. Yeah, that's a
I
great way to put it.
I wanna point something out, Sam, is
Please.
I have a turtle display here that while they did not put Bebop and Rocksteady from the cartoon into, the live action film, they did bring Toka and Razor into the animated
That's
series,
right, they did,
and
yeah.
introduce them. Of course, because of the speed of animation, I think they were introduced like a year or a year and a half after Secret of
Yeah,
the Ooze came out.
'cause
Um,
it was towards the end of the cartoon's run, right?
it was not like so far in the end when they did like the at the end of the animated series, they did like a light style reboot. It's called the Red Sky era because every time they were
Mm,
outside, the sky was red.
okay.
This was sort of mid run. I think it was
Okay,
maybe
okay.
season 5, 6, or 7 out of the 10 seasons that they
Right,
did.
right. That
But
yeah,
it
that
was
makes
certainly
sense.
like at the point where Turtle Mania was starting to kind of die down a little bit.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the kids who had been there at the start were sort of aging out, and there was just so much other stuff. By the mid '90s, like you've got Batman, you've got X-Men, you've got Transformers, you've just got all these other franchises that have like leveraged toy lines and the animated series and the films, and to say nothing of Power Rangers, which was
right.
I think eating up a lot of that same
It was. Yeah, I
same
mean, Power
audience base.
Rangers I think Power Rangers really was the thing that, yeah, drew a lot of that attention that Ninja Turtles might have, maintained,
Yeah,
for a younger audience. And I know for me personally, like, as someone who has collected with, played with whatever toys pretty much my entire life, I was never necessarily completely out, but I did kind of shift and move on at times. And I feel like, yeah, by the time 94, 95 rolled around, I was starting to kind of get a little bit out of Turtles. I
same.
wanted to
Yeah,
point out real quick that those figures are made by NECA, which is an awesome company that produces some amazing figures. And their Turtles line, yeah, I mean, just look at that. It's art, it's
yeah,
really
and
gorgeous.
the mouth's articulated too, which is pretty
Wow,
cool. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Um, I like that they come with just big meats that they can eat. I think that's a cool accessory here.
Yeah.
From like a art perspective, I guess I think it's really interesting to see how the live action designs were adapted into the animated style, and
Yes.
again how those animated versions were adapted into these three-dimensional figures. So it's almost like
Right.
a full circle, which is pretty cool.
And
Um,
incredibly recognizable. I think that that's one of the things that's kind of remarkable about Turtles as a franchise is whether we're talking the cartoon, the original toy line, the comic books, or the films, like even all the way up to today with the new cartoons. I mean, there's something about the characters that they have made. They've been able to keep recognizable through any and all iterations, and I think that that is
Absolutely.
fairly remarkable. Now, I will say, I take that back. There is one iteration of Rat King that feels very, very different from any other iteration of the character that we've seen before. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, they all fit in kind of um, this similar kind of thematic wheelhouse, and they don't stray too far from the original blueprint.
Yeah, it's great synergy
Yeah, yeah, right,
across across the
right,
different versions. Um, I think that I really liked Mutant Mayhem that came out recently,
yeah,
and part of the reason why I liked it is because they played a little fast and loose with some of the canon and some of the character designs, but again in a way where it still felt very much part of the universe.
yeah,
I think that you and I are both stalling uh, because we don't want to talk about
All
it.
right, let's do it. Turtles in Time, which was never an official title, by the way. The
No,
film was
no,
only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, but it has become known as Turtles in Time throughout the years. So
which
I
was
have an
actually a video game from
right.
similar era, an arcade
That's
game, and
right.
then it was released
We haven't
on,
even
I think,
talked
Super
about the
Nintendo.
video games. Man, that
Whew,
original NES game, that drove me batty as a
so
kid, but I loved
frustrating,
it. I
crazy.
loved it so
Yes,
much. Um,
amazing. Yes. Uh,
so I read the novelization of this before I saw the film in theaters.
really,
Yeah,
look
because that
at
was something,
you.
that they used to do. Like, they don't really
Yeah,
do that anymore, but back in
you
the
could buy them
day.
at the Scholastic book fairs.
Right, right. I
Yeah,
mean, even Star Wars: The Phantom Menace came out as a novelization prior to coming out in theaters. Nowadays, that's unheard of. You're not gonna get a
yes,
novelization of Avengers: Doomsday before it hits theaters, right?
right.
But I read the novelization, and I remember enjoying it as a kid. Um and then seeing the movie and felt like I was watching something completely different because the movie went through a lot of changes. Um, I stand by this. There is a really good Turtles movie in there somewhere. Uh, I think that a lot of the ideas behind the film are pretty great, and I think um the four ninjas versus the seven samurai kind of thing that they're going for with helping the villagers and all that sort of stuff. It's a shame that they weren't able to either get rid of some of the chaff that they didn't need in this film, which there is a bit of it, and
Yeah.
focus on that sort of stuff, or make a slightly longer film. Um, because again, there's some good stuff here, but I feel like it unfortunately, yeah, it's a bit of a mess. It's not great. Production values are not nearly as high as they could be. The acting is a little bit all over the place. But when there are certain moments, like no one told Elias Cotees not to show up, right? I mean, he shows up to
Right.
act, right? Like he does it like
Right.
Casey and his counterpart, like there's some really good stuff there. Um, the Turtles, there's some really good stuff with the Turtles. Mikey has a really great storyline. Like, I mean, they all do. They all get some good stuff in the film. Um, David Warner again and his kind of glorified cameo is great.
Yes.
Their new subway lair, there's really all sorts of really great stuff about the film. I don't know. I feel like I'm almost a Turtles 3 apologist, and I don't mean to
That's
sound like that
okay.
because it's
That's
not
okay.
great, right?
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways I like it better than Secret of the Ooze now.
Well, so that's so interesting because I feel like, what we were talking about before, where, kids can look at it, they can fill in the blanks and be imaginative. And I think that's what you're doing. Like, I think that you are like looking at the raw material and you're saying, okay, well, we have all these elements here. And, you know, there's a narrative that they're going for, and I can see it.
Right.
And but then for me, like the question is, why did it end up the way that it did? Obviously, like anybody who's ever worked on a film knows that nobody's like it was like this isn't going to be any good. Let's phone it in here. People are
Right,
working
right.
very hard to make a movie, and
Yeah.
sometimes there are just limits, time, money, uh, you know, things can go awry. You can get behind. I, you know, Let me ask you this question, and you've probably seen the film more recently than I have. Who do you think the film is for? Because I think that that's a question that that plagues this trilogy.
Yeah.
Each film in its own way. I think the first film was very much for fans of the comic, and I think that the second film was aimed for younger viewers who might be more familiar with the animated series and wanted to sort of play up those things. Who's this third film for?
That is a great question. And I I think part of the issue is that Eastman and Laird, I think, knew who it was for, right? I think the director, Stuart Gillard, knew who it was for. I don't necessarily think that the studio uh they wanted it for kids to make a lot of money, right? Um, I think I think Eastman and Laird wanted something that was a little bit more like the original film, but maybe bigger and, push things in a direction like the comics had, giving them more sci-fi kind of license to do, crazier things. And I think, Gillard probably was trying to do something to meet in the middle, and ultimately it feels like it doesn't quite know who it's for.
Yeah,
Um, because there are parts of this film that feel like it's made for a more mature audience. And then there are parts of this film that kind of feel like it was made for, you know, a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old.
yeah.
Uh, it's weird, right? Like it's
Almost like
very
scene to scene.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes. No, that's a
yeah,
great point. Scene to scene, because there are scenes in this film that I love dearly, right? And then there are scenes in this film where I'm just sort of like, this is I hesitate to use this, but I feel like it's a great shorthand, but it's a bad shorthand because these are some of the hardest working actors that you will ever meet. But it's bad soap opera acting on occasions. It's, and some of it's poorly lit, some of it's poorly shot, poorly direct. Like it's just like this feels like you shot this in an alleyway with rented costumes from Spirit Halloween, with your local community theater actor, like not a full studio motion picture being shot on a decent budget. And so it was a very odd at times. So yeah, I guess maybe that's an answer,
no,
perhaps.
I think that there's some insight there. I've always felt like TMNT3 shares a lot of positive and negative attributes with the fourth film in the Superman live action series, The Quest for
Oof.
Peace.
Yeah.
And that is a film that has been much maligned for very good reasons, but it's also it's a film you watch and you're like, there's a good movie in here somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was all in the can, uh, but there are scenes in this movie that work really well. There's an idea behind this movie. There are some great character moments in
Yeah.
this movie. But the budget, the effects, some of the choices in terms of costuming and pacing and going really broad, but then trying to bring it back and being really sincere. I feel like those are things that plague that movie and the third Ninja Turtles film, and to a certain extent the second Ninja Turtles film. But I think that movie just moves, and there's so much going on, and they're introducing all this stuff. And the other thing I'll say is I think the second film of the series, it it rides the wave of the first film a lot
Yeah. Yeah.
because same villain, similar settings, and it sort of feels like it's connected to that first film. This film just always felt so separate from one and two. And like you said, seems like that was by design. They wanted to take it in a different direction, but it also, I think, it ended up being a handicap as well because you weren't able to connect with, you don't have the Shredder, you don't have, the modern Foot Clan. I think the best thing that they did compared to two is that they were able to get Casey Jones back, which for me as a
Yeah.
kid, when
Yeah.
I saw Secret of the Used, my one question was, "Where's Casey? Where's
Right.
Casey at today? I guess he's not hanging out." So yeah, I I definitely hear you there, and I will be interested uh, to to know if if the insights on that film, the special features, the commentary, um, if those bring out some more details that can illuminate those kind of questions. You never know with these releases because um, sometimes it's just sort of like you want to present the best kind of version of history as you can with the making of a film. But my
Right.
favorites are where they just take it seriously and okay, this is what happened, and we're going to air all of our dirty laundry here, and because it's years
Yeah.
later, and who cares?
Yeah.
Um,
It's, it's interesting because even Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, which is no huge surprise because they do differ on quite a few ideas about the
yeah,
turtles these days. Although I hear that their relationship is far far better these days than it was maybe 20 years ago or so. Uh,
age will do
but
that to you. Yeah,
yeah, right, right.
yeah,
But Laird hates it. He does not like it at all. But Eastman actually considers it kind of much like I was saying, considers it to be a better film than Secret of the Ooze. He feels like it's kind of it's halfway there, right? Like it's somewhere in the middle of how great the first one was and how bad the second one was, in his opinion. And yeah, again, I feel like it is very much a film that it's so close in so many ways to being, I think, what I wanted. And I think that one of the things too that it does, there's just a lot of stuff that ends up feeling very superfluous to the story, and then there's other things that we don't get enough of, like the feudal Japan story, the stuff between Vivian Wu's character Mitsu and Kenshin.
yep,
I think that there's stuff with Mitsu's brother Yoshi, which again is the child that Raphael and Michelangelo befriend. And Yeah, it's just, again, it's just so strange to me because there's so much about the movie that stands out, that I enjoy, that I like, and then there's so much that I'm just sort of like, what what happened? Just
right.
what happened? Um,
Do you think they
yeah.
should have spent less time cutting back to
Yes.
the present and the shenanigans there?
Yeah,
It
I honestly feel like you didn't really need hardly anything at all from the present. The unfortunate side effect of that is that you wouldn't have really gotten any Casey Jones. You just would have gotten Wit. But in a way, I think that would have been okay, because the amazing thing about the character of Wit is that we get one idea of who this character is, and he seems very akin to Casey Jones, and then he turns, right, and it's like, how gratifying would it have been when once they came back to the present, that we realized that, like, good old Casey is good old Casey, right? You
yeah,
know, while we would have still gotten a character that was very much like Casey, played by the same actor, who kind of lulls us into this sense of sort of like, oh yeah, okay, it's just kind of Casey's double in the past. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. And then like, oh no,
right,
no, don't do
right,
that.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Well, maybe we'll get, what has it been, 30 years since this film came out?
yeah.
Maybe we'll still get like a director's cut.
32 years. Well, I that's one thing that I did hear. Where did I hear this? I don't think it was on the Turtle Power documentary. Somewhere on the internet. At one point in time, I had seen something where there was a lot of stuff that was cut from the film. In particular, there was a lot of stuff with the Walker, the mercenary character.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things where, yeah, the movie, because they set Walker up to be, pretty bad, right? And then he's kind of a bit buffoonish at times. And from what I hear, that was not the plan. The plan was to keep him
Mhm.
as kind of like a straight, like, this guy is an evil mofo, right? And instead he kind of becomes, like Shredder in the cartoon.
When I hear that's interesting. When I hear that, I'm wondering, did some of that stuff make it into the can and was just reshot or edited out, or was that a change that was made, prior to shooting?
Prior to, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
right, because that's the thing, that it sounds like Stuart Gillard, and I'm really looking forward to hearing his audio commentary, because apparently he's only recently started talking about the film. He didn't talk about the film for like 30 years.
I
And
can
it's only
imagine.
recently
Yeah.
that he started talking about it. So I'm really interested to hear what he has to say on that audio commentary. But yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Is it's one of those things that gives you like snatches of what could be. And I love to, in this case, almost contrary to what I was saying earlier, allow my imagination to play out that in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Because again, I think that there's something about this film that I personally do really enjoy, even if I can recognize that it's not a great film.
Right. And again, I want to just emphasize again, like, e- even the worst film that you have ever seen, that was someone's, child. That was
Yeah.
someone's baby.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for people to invest nothing but, 2 hours into something and be like, well, I would have done this, and I would have cut this, and then I would have changed this, and then I would have cast this person as the character, not this person. Because, hindsight is 2020. A lot of it has to do with taste,
Yeah.
and you
Right.
weren't there.
Well,
So, you know,
right. Because, like, here's the thing for me, I would rather watch Turtles 3 than either one of the Michael Bay movies, right?
there you
Like,
go. Right.
any day of the week. Like, I DNF'd those movies. Like, I literally could not finish watching them.
I could get through the second one. I begrudgingly watched the first one. I think
Yeah.
mostly for Will Arnett, because I think that he's funny, and I thought that
Yes.
he was really great casting, like from a cartoon angle
Right.
as Vernon.
Vernon, yeah. I really want to
But
see his new
yeah,
movie, by the way. The movie that Bradley Cooper directed him
right.
in.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it looks really good. And I'd watch Laura Dern do anything. So, but
yes. The
yeah,
phone book with Laura
the
Dern.
right. But back to Turtles. The interesting thing about this is that this film franchise ended up spawning kind of two sequels in a way. One was the CGI film that came out in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And then the other was actually the television show, The Next Mutation.
Yes, The
Um,
Next Mutation, which is sort of like a quasi sequel to the animated series as well. They were really trying to have it all with that
yeah,
very short-lived show, and they got
yeah.
nothing.
No, right. There was some interesting stuff about that show, to be sure. Not the least of which was probably the introduction of Venus de Milo, the female
Venus
turtle,
de Milo.
which is
Yes.
hilarious because again, that's something that at the time both Eastman and Laird were like, I hate this. No, you cannot do this. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And now Eastman anyway has kind of embraced it because I know when he was doing The Last Ronin and um,
The
that
IDW
he
series,
yeah,
yeah.
the IDW series that he incorporated the idea that there were like, female turtles and all that sort of
Yes.
thing. And then the IDW series obviously utilized the character as well. And didn't they add another one as well?
Yes, and of course now they're, the last Ronin 2, they've got a whole new group of turtles, like a next
Yeah.
generation of turtles as well. Um, I just think there's a lot to unpack with, the four brothers being named after like great artisans, and the first female turtle being named after Venus de Milo. It's like there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
That's yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right. So let's breeze through some quick stuff real quick. Favorite turtle?
it's always been Raphael. Always
Same
been
here.
Raphael. Yeah,
Yep.
because
Same here.
because you know.
You know, I
Uh,
I I feel like and I don't think that this stands today, quite frankly, but I feel like for a time he was the one with the most depth. He just had the most depth.
yeah, he had the most pathos,
Yeah,
and I had friends growing up that really liked Michelangelo because he was
of
fun,
course. Right,
and
right.
who liked Donatello because he could invent stuff, and not a single person who liked Leonardo. So sorry, Leonardo,
So
you are the
funny story.
Cyclops of the Ninja Turtles.
Funny
Um,
story about that is that I remember when I went to the store with my mom to get my first Ninja Turtle, I wanted Michelangelo. I wanted
yeah,
Michelangelo. That was who I wanted because I was like Michelangelo. They didn't have Michelangelo. They had, I think Donatello and Raphael were the only two that they had. And I chose Raphael kind of begrudgingly. And then it didn't take long for Raphael to become my favorite. And part of
there you
that
go.
was honestly the movie, the first film really helped to cement Raphael as my favorite.
Well, in so many ways, he's sort of set up as the protagonist
Yeah.
of the film. Uh,
Well, I think in a lot of ways he goes through. I mean, it can certainly be argued that Leonardo has a really big journey in that film too. But I feel like
without a doubt, yeah,
that in some ways it's both of them. It's their characters, their relationship in a lot of ways that helps to drive the film. And both of
yeah,
them, I think, probably grow the most, with the possible exception of like Danny. They grow the most throughout the
right,
film.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we already talked about Splinter's origin. We talked about the dueling April O'Neils. Okay, here's the real tough one. If you had to choose one continuity, comic books, original cartoon, or the films, which one do you choose?
That's tough.
That is tough.
That's tough. Um, Continuity. So in terms of all the other versions are destroyed and I only get this version of the Turtles.
Ooh, wow, you're taking one step further than even I did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I I'm going to do a real oddball choice here
Yep.
under pressure.
Okay.
I will choose the Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures Archie comics.
I actually think that is the correct answer as well. I
Really?
really do.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and I'll tell you why, and I want to know if this is similar to your reasoning behind it, because I feel like that comic line was able to fuse the best of all worlds, because
That's it.
you got some big bold storytelling, you got some great story arcs, kind of like you did in the original Mirage comics. You got, kind of the character design and a bit of the cartoonishness elements of the cartoon, but you also did indeed get some deeper, darker elements, more gritty, grounded elements like you did in the films. And it was able to kind of be this weird fusion, this weird cocktail of all of what the Turtles could be.
Yep.
And I think it's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, I think that uh that is low key like some peak
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
And
I
I'm thrilled that they have recently been releasing those in these incredibly gorgeous, amazing hardcovers.
yeah,
I have the first one, the first two, maybe. Um, or is there only one right now?
there's a second one is forthcoming. I don't
That's
have
right.
that one yet if it's come out yet.
Yeah, no, I
Um
don't think it has come out yet. You're right. There's just
yeah.
the one, but they're just a beautiful. It's a beautiful way to own them and to be able to read them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the other, corresponding series that came out as well, you know, featuring a lot of the secondary characters that get their own time in the sun,
yeah,
which is cool. Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said. Like I think it's a this great sort of synthesis of a lot of the best turtle stuff that was around then, and
yeah.
it's kind of cool to think about that they had a chance to sort of relaunch this comic book in this different way, like next to the Mirage comic that was currently running back then, and
Right.
bring in some of these other elements, design elements, and yeah, that
Well,
yeah,
and it's funny because those Archie comics were also just a lot easier to obtain. I remember it was
right,
very difficult to get those Mirage comics, especially the early ones. I mean, they had what, like 13 printings of that first issue.
right, because
Because it
I
was
mean they
just,
were literally printing this out of their house
yeah,
in what like were they in New England somewhere? It's just kind of
yeah, it was,
it's
yeah. What was it, Rhode Island or Connecticut? Rhode Island, Delaware.
New Hampshire.
I don't remember. Yeah,
Okay,
something somewhere up there. But
tell us in
yeah,
the
absolutely.
comments.
They were, yes, please. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Watch the Turtle
I,
Power documentary and see some
there you
amazing
go.
footage from the genesis
Absolutely.
of the Turtles. That's a really great documentary, actually.
I Yes, it is great. And last I checked, it was on Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know
can
if they
stream
pulled
it.
it because streaming is not reliable,
No,
folks, which is why you should
no,
support physical media releases such as
absolutely.
this
Like
one.
this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful box set from
Hey, there it
Arrow
is.
Video. Look at that. I mean, just absolutely stunning artwork there. And I can't wait to dig into that. And obviously, once I do, I will report back with a much shorter video, just telling you how great it looks and telling you about all the special features. Um, yeah, I think that, as a property, as a story, as a pop culture phenomenon, I think, Ninja Turtles is certainly one of my favorite franchises. Um, I think that there's something about it that I have always been able to approach it with almost what we just talked about with those adventures comics, that for me, I'm not looking for any one thing from the Ninja Turtles. I'm not looking for this dark, gritty, street level, bloody fight fest. I'm not looking for these fantastical, outer space, extra dimensional stories. I'm not looking for, this sense of play and cartoonish buffoonery or anything. I'm looking for all of it. And Turtles is the one thing that I feel like consistently can give that to you. And I think that Mutant Mayhem, which you brought up earlier, in its own unique, 2020 when did that movie come out? 23 way or whatever. Uh,
How old am I?
yeah, right.
Whose hands
Uh,
are these?
it's one of the reasons why I think I loved that film so much is because it does all of those things, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
taps into, it taps into something very unique as well. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I've always loved about the Turtles is that, yeah, it just feels like it can be, can be all things in a very unique way, and that's something that Eastman and Laird had from the very beginning. You look
yeah.
at those first 5 issues. Just read the first 5 issues, and there is so much packed into those first 5 issues.
Yeah, and you see so much passion in
Yeah,
on each page, and you could feel the work that they're putting into it. And it's funny because in many ways, it started as this pastiche
right.
of 80s comics of Daredevil and all these popular titles, but it it can't just stay. It becomes its own thing, and like you said, it's almost like you can watch them playing. It's like when you're out on the playground as a kid, and you just keep introducing new elements
Yeah.
into play, and your friends say yes and add more to it.
What a beautiful way to put that. You're absolutely right, JJ. That's I think the sense I get from the Turtles when I read a comic, watch one of these movies, a cartoon with my son, whatever the case might be, play one of the video games, get the toys out, is that there's something about the Turtles that just inspires, I think, that sense of play and imagination in a way that some other properties don't. I think it's one of the things about, it's funny, I can't believe I'm going to draw this parallel, right? But I bring it
I'm
back to
ready.
this every time in a way. But it's one of the reasons why I love Doctor Who, because it can be anything, and that's one of the things that it's hard for me to argue too much with people that have their issues with, oh, well, I think Star Wars should be this, or I think Star Trek should be this, or whatever. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. But when it comes to certain franchises and certain pieces of media, it's very easy for me to say, no, 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 wait a minute, this can be anything.
Yeah,
Doctor Who can be anything. The Ninja Turtles, oddly enough, can be anything. And that's what makes it kind of special. And why it will always have a very special place in my heart. And these films in particular, I think, kind of represent in varying degrees of success, represent that very well.
yeah. It's like an artifact from the first zenith moment
Yeah.
of the Turtles. And the fact that we're still talking about them today in all their various iterations, I guess you could say that the franchise is evergreen.
Oh no. Ah. I did wear a green
Destroy
sweater
this
just for this
video.
occasion. Yeah,
There you
right.
go.
Don't ever see this. All right. JJ, thank you so much for joining me on this. It's always such a pleasure.
Thank
I
you,
have so
Sam.
much fun getting to talk about, anything with you. I have my Twilight Zone poster over here, which you can
Nice.
pick up at jjlendl.com actually.
Yeah, tis the
Um,
season, folks.
that's right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on and being a sounding board for your unboxing. And I look forward to your review, and
Yeah.
because this is on my wish list, and I I'm looking forward to perhaps getting my own copy.
I'm going to surprise you with something real quick. It's funny, I was planning on doing this, but I kind of almost forgot about it. But you mentioned the unboxing and wish lists. So I hope you get it. Um, so that then we can, talk about all of the stuff.
Got to talk
But,
to Santa about that.
one of the, things I
Silly
saw him
Santa.
today at Navy Pier. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
I
There
know
wasn't much
him.
of a line. I was really surprised.
Oh, really?
Uh,
It's pretty
so
cold out, I imagine.
yeah, it was very cold out. Yeah, yeah. Too cold even to visit Santa. So, what is in this box that I am opening right now? What is in this box is another box from the looks of it.
Oh my gosh.
All right, I'm just gonna have to dump this out and clean it up later. This is what I get for doing this on the fly. I saved this because I didn't want to. I didn't want to open it without having you around virtually,
Oh, what is this going to
um,
be?
because we talked about this. And this became a bit of a grail, if you will, to use the parlance for me, mainly because I missed out on it. And I was very disappointed that I had missed out on it because I had intended to pick it up. Multiple times I was like, oh, I'll get that. Oh, I'll get that. I'll get that. And then I didn't. And it,
Isn't that
fell
how it
out of print.
goes?
right?
Yeah.
And being out of print as it was, I struggled to find it at a decent price. And I was convinced that I would have to wait a very long time, either to just say, finally break down and say, fine, I'll spend X amount of dollars, or find a good deal on it. Well, lo and behold, I set my eBay notifications, and I got an email one morning, and there was one listing that had popped up, one new listing. And it was priced so low that I literally thought, I'm going to just buy it now. And if I get screwed on this, it's okay. I'll just tell eBay to give me my money back, and I know that they will. Well, I can tell you, because I'm holding it in my hands now and I'm actually looking at it, I did not get screwed on this. I cannot believe what I paid for this. But I now have, from Arrow Video,
Yes.
the Bruce Lee store exclusive edition Golden Harvest box set
Gorgeous.
in 4K,
Amazing.
Ultra HD. This set is this is something that I have watched multiple unboxings and reviews of. This set is incredible. I don't even need to watch any of the films to tell you that. So many incredible special features, just chock full of amazing stuff. Now, the one thing, and I think that this might be the reason why the guy had listed it so low, is it does have a dinged corner here.
You know what?
But I don't
Again,
care.
I'm gonna dig the corner. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Myself.
It's got like a little tiny split. I don't even know if you can tell, like right by his finger here.
It's like a love tap.
But like, yeah,
You'll always remember
literally,
how little you paid for it now.
exactly. No, I literally don't care. It's still sealed. It
That's
is.
awesome.
I mean, this is an incredible piece for me. You know, I've been focusing a lot on like martial arts films and Hong Kong films in particular recently. Just because I have a great love for them, and that felt like a piece that I needed to have, because it's funny, around the same time, you know, that I got into, or that I saw this first Ninja Turtles film, is when I first started to kind of watch Bruce Lee movies. It would have been like literally around that same time. And I remember 91, 92 especially. And then 93, I think, was when the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story movie came out. Or it might have been 92. I might be off on that. But anyway, and I started taking Taekwondo. I was very much into Bruce Lee, and I would stay at my grandfather's, and we'd go to the rental store, and inevitably I'd be like, Grandpa, can I get a Bruce Lee movie? And just again, and I'm like, yeah, and one year for Christmas I got a bunch of Bruce Lee VHS. So I'm very excited to have this. And you and I had talked about it multiple times. It's funny because I remember seeing it in the background, one of our myriad, conversations. And I was just like, oh, JJ's got it. I got to pick that up. But so anyway, I finally opened it. I've had it for a few weeks now, actually, and I didn't open it. But yeah, so I look forward to getting into that as well.
Well, that's got to be our next conversation, because we've got to go through that set.
Maybe I can twist your arm to do a little art.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, in case we don't get the chance to do this again, I'm sure I will talk to you at some point. I just want to say happy holidays, my friend.
Happy holidays to you as well, and to your family, and I hope that you all have a nice, restful holiday. I know that's difficult with children that are our age. And are you traveling for the holiday?
No, we're staying here, luckily.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's a big part of it. We are also staying put.
The in-laws live 5 minutes away, and so my wife has two sisters, and so they're all, everybody's coming here, which is nice.
Okay,
yeah. But
then you get to host as well.
Well, the nice thing, sorry, when I say coming here, they're not coming to our house; they're going to their parents' house.
Oh, so you get to go 5 minutes away and not have to do anything.
No,
right.
And then the other great thing about it is when I say, oh, I'm gonna go home, it's 5 minutes away. So,
amazing.
But yeah, well, the amazing thing is, the funny thing about this is that this is going to drop And then like a day later, another video with you and I is going to drop because on Wednesday, we're finally going to get to reveal our Sliders Seasons Greetings review
Oh,
episode. In fact,
yes.
the art reveal episode just dropped like a day or two ago. And so I'm going to drop this in between that. And then that one will drop on Wednesday, the 17th, because I'm releasing like 3 videos a week these days because I must be nuts.
No,
But
it's just you have a lot to say, and the people demand it. That's
you
it.
know what? Look, I've said this multiple times. I'm having so much fun lately with the channel. So much fun in a way. Like I I loved everything I got to do with Quantum Leap, and I am so grateful for everyone who participated in that. You know, including yourself, obviously the cast, the crew, the producers, the writers, everyone that came on the show. So grateful for all of that. I loved it. I wish the show was still around. I wish I was still able to do shows on it. That said, it definitely felt like work at times. It felt like there was a responsibility. It felt like I had deadlines. It felt like I had to do. I get to now just literally do whatever I want, and I'm having so much fun. I've got another episode coming out. Probably it'll come out either end of this coming week or beginning of the next week on a Christmas movie from 1952 from England that probably I would say no one watching this right now has ever seen. That I just wanted to do because I was like, I love this movie. Let's talk about it. So
Awesome. That's great.
I've got more of the quick kicks stuff that I've been doing with the Shaw brothers. Next up is going to be the Thundering Sword, which I'm very much looking forward to doing. I did a quick kicks on the Assassin, which is the very first film in the Shaw brothers collection, classics volume
Love that
1.
artwork.
Yeah, me too, me too. Again though, Shout Factory had a unique opportunity to like do something beyond the one sheet, which is gorgeous, right? But that said, I say that, and they obviously commissioned this gorgeous art for the
Right.
box itself. So
Right.
no shade, no shade.
And I think there really is something to be said about using the original poster artwork, which is something that a lot of the big
yeah,
studios don't do. They'll just
that's very
get a
true.
photo and throw it up there with a weird title and call it a day.
I mean, to bring this full circle and then finally get out of here after we're doing the Midwest goodbye here. The if you want to see some really bad artwork, just check out the original like VHS and DVD artwork for Ninja Turtles.
I thought
It's
you were
not
going to
even
say
art.
go to jjlendl.com. Come on, what? Come on.
Never, my friend. There's evidence to the contrary right behind me. But yeah, you look at some of the awful like screenshot stills that they used on those original DVDs
Yes.
compared to
Yeah.
this. I mean, yeah. But anyway, look, I don't necessarily want to encourage blind buys. I think people should, have some sort of attraction to what they're going after. But that said, I mean, this box already looks well worth the price. If you have any affinity for these films, I can't imagine you're going to be disappointed. I can't wait to see what these transfers look like. I have a feeling that for the first film in particular, I'm going to see this movie in a way that I have just never seen it before.
Yes. You'll
So
specifically see the scene in the bathroom when you can see the
yeah,
performer's eyes in the turtle's mouth. Make sure
what
that you
a
get a nice HD screen grab of that in 4K. And
what a horrific moment. It is truly the stuff that nightmares are made of.
Yep, it's great.
All right. Well, look, this is going to be, of course, like 2 hours long. But no, it's not going to be that long. But hey, again, I just want to thank you. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays with your family. Thank you so much for continuing to come on, be a part of the show. I really, really appreciate it. I love the chance when we get to do this, and I can't wait until the time we do it again.
We'll do it again soon. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone, yeah, again, go to jjlendl.com, check out all the offerings there. There's just some incredible artwork. Of course, there's also some
Some of
merch
the
for Face
worst
Wide Wheel.
artwork.
It's appalling, really. I can't believe I have to shill that crap. No, just
That's
some
why I
amazing
pay
stuff
you.
over there. Not much, but hey, it keeps the lights on. No, there's also some really cool Fates Wide Wheel merch over there. There's all of the original artwork that he created for the Quantum Leap Revival series, which is just incredible. I mean, that art is so incredible that it is literally endorsed by the people that created and worked on that show. So go check it out. And And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you all so much. Please like, subscribe, comment, turn that notification bell on, all the stuff that you need to do to, boost the show, get more people watching so we can continue these conversations in fun and interesting ways. There is a Patreon for Fate's Wide Wheel. It's just an online tip jar right now. There's no extra content there that's currently being produced. There is some stuff there that JJ and I did actually for those aforementioned posters, so you can take a look at any of those videos. But there'll be some stuff in the future. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but feel free to support the show that way if you so choose. I really greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, though, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, stay safe out there, and always, always leap responsibly.